Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here, back with another bit of Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are playing as the Vampire Coast against the High Elves, and I decided to do something a little weird this time, a build that is somewhat off with the Vampire Coast, and that is an aggressive sort of offensive build. And one of the things I've been messing around with Vampire Coast and just is trying to play it in a different way than what you're used to. Normally when I see people play it, it's a very campy, very defensive play style. You sit tight, hide essentially in a corner somewhere, and then shoot your enemy to death. But I decided to go super offensive, and so let's break this build down and see what we brought here. Because there are some units here that I don't see very often, and I really wanted to give them a shot. For my lord, I did bring Count Nocti. Well, that's not that impressive. He's kind of the go-to. But Melkos Miasma, an Invocation of Nehek, he's got Raised Dead, of course, with a Withering, because we are bringing a bunch of Depth Guard, or some Depth Guard, so we do want that drop in armor. Wraithstorm, the Summon, of course, with the Captain Ross Moondial, and then Arcane Conduit. And of course we are mounted on a Necrofex Colossus, which does give us a little more mobility, gives us a little bit of AP staying power, definitely pretty nifty in that sense. Alongside him we do have a Rotting Leviathan, a unit you don't see very often. Basically this unit is an Arachnarok Spider, except a crab, but it doesn't have poison damage. In exchange, you do have some AP missiles, but really, I would say it's a downgrade from an Arachnarok Spider, to be quite honest, because you do lose Strider. It is a little more defensive. It does have expert charge defense, but personally, I think I would say the Arachnarok's generally a little bit better than this unit, but I didn't want to give it a shot. I did want to see if we can make it work. For my front line, it's not much of a front line. 2 units of Depth Guard. We're going to be relying a lot on those summons to try to CC my opponent, to try to control him and prevent him from really disrupting me. On either flank, we do have 2 Scurvy Dogs as well, so providing a bit of a screening light cav force, and 4 bats up in the sky. Finally, 3 units of Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mobs with handguns are there to provide some AP fire support for our Depth Guard and for our front line. So this front line, very thin, but I kind of figured that my opponent was not likely to bring a lot of infantry. Surprisingly, he actually went very infantry heavy, but it's not what I expected. And I figured Depth Guard will mulch through Spearmen, and then they're just going to be able to overrun units like Archers. They do have 36 speed, so Archers are not going to be able to outpace them. Now for my opponent, he did bring a front line of Spearmen here. He did bring Tyrion, pretty cool choice. He does have the Heart of Avalorn as well as Faint and... Is it the Heart of Avalorn? No, he actually did not... Oh, he does have the Heart of Avalorn. There we go. I knew I saw he had it, but I forgot where it was. Heart of Avalorn, Sunfang, Faint and Riposte, Stand Your Ground, and Foe Seeker, so pretty heavily kitted out. He is, of course, an absolute beast in melee, and if he gets on top of my Rotting Leviathan or Count Noctilus, things could go south very quickly. The front line here is a composed of Spearmen. Signs of Mathline off on the flank. Personally, I prefer them in the center, where they can make some use out of that aura, but perhaps my opponent had something specific in mind there that I'm missing here. He does have 3 units of White Lions. They are spread out across the front line. These guys could trade pretty efficiently with Depth Guard, and of course if they get us around on, say, the Leviathan, they'll do okay. If they get us around on Noctilus, they'll do okay. And honestly, against lower end chaff, they'll just be fine. They're just going to more than adequate. 2 units of Archers to apply a little bit of back pressure. You generally want, I think, a lot more shooting, but hey, it's an interesting take on things. A Mage of Heavens here with Chain Lightning, Wind Blast, as well as Harmonic Convergence. Wind Blast actually pretty nasty against the light infantry that the Vampire Coast can bring. A Phoenix up here in the sky ready to bombard me, and then 3 units of Legion Reavers scattered around the back. And these guys, of course, will be applying some immediate backline pressure. Now, early on, we were just going to fire a few volleys. I wasn't actually in control of Noctilus here, or it wasn't fast enough to pick this up. Just mistake on my part. So unfortunately, we do waste a few volleys here on the Spearmen. Not what you want to be doing with your shots, your very expensive ammo on Count Noctilus, but hey, what can you do? In the meantime, I also have not spotted. I didn't check the corners. I didn't notice the Legion Reavers until kind of late. So we're going to start pushing forward. We're going to sort of commit our Depth Guard here, commit our Rotting Leviathan. We're just going to push straight forward, dead on ahead. You can see the cannonballs pounding into those White Lions. My opponent using his Archers to try to suppress my Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mobs. Now, not necessarily a bad idea, but it does mean that my Depth Guard here are going to get into the front line, and things are going to go south for these Spearmen very quickly. Just look at how fast the Spearmen get mulched. Depth Guard are kitted out. This is the ideal situation for Depth Guard, is fighting units like Spearmen. You can see just how fast they die. You can see the White Lions here getting demolished by the cannon fire, and in comes the Rotting Leviathan to tie them down and completely wreak havoc. In the meantime, the bats are going to snare the Flamespire Phoenix, which is really useful, but unfortunately, a bit of a misplay here on my part. I abandoned the backline with my Scurvy Dogs, which really should have been on backline defense, protecting against this light cap play. Had I been more attentive, this would have happened, but I'm not, so oh well, sue me. In the meantime, we do get our summons off. We've got our Zombie Pirate Gunnery Mobs, our Zombie Pirate Mobs getting summoned. They're going to be able to push forward with some of our troops. You can see here, blocking off these White Lines and these Spearmen that my opponent was trying to flank with, allowing my Depth Guard to pursue the Archers, and overwhelm this backline. In the meantime, the Scurvy Dogs are collapsing on the backline. Depth Guard, while obviously not meant to, say, fight White Lions in a super cost-efficient manner, will still do rather well against them. And you can see the Scurvy Dogs diving in here, destroying those archers in short order. And with that, my opponent is going to lose this shooting component. You can see a nice bombardment there, going down on the Mage of Heavens, forcing her to reconsider her life choices and flee. The Bats still pressuring the Flamespire Phoenix. Now, this is honestly a good way to shut down expensive units, is with bats, or expensive flyers, but 4 bats is way overkill. I should have honestly taken like 2 of them, maybe 3 of them even, away. I've been trying to shut down these Illyrian Reavers. In the meantime, my opponent does use Tyrion very efficiently here, going after the Rotting Leviathan. I think the only way he could have done better is going after Count Noctilus, but obviously against the Rotting Leviathan, he's going to do a lot of work. The Rotting Leviathan can't really hit him very consistently, and although it can perhaps stagger him a little bit, it's not going to be paying its dues here, really. That said, we're going to get a nice little invocation of the Hag here, keeping our Zombie Pirate Gunner Mob in the fight, able to keep firing hopefully at Tyrion, and we are going to get some summons here to bog down these Illyrian Reavers, prevent them from escaping, prevent them from really saving my opponent's bacon. In the meantime, on the periphery, the Zombie Pirate deckhands bogging my opponent down, buying me time as we overwhelm the backline. You can see here we do commit our Scurvy Dogs to tie down the Spearmen, to tie down those White Lions, while the Depth Guard pivots around, and using that superior infantry speed of 36, they're going to be able to shift flanks and get in on these Spearmen, get in on these other White Lions, and just mulch them. You can see these guys up to 145 kills, these guys up to 104, just doing some monstrous work. Nocti over here, smashing Tyrion, and the Rotting Leviathan just pushing through, getting in on these Illyrian Reavers, trying to munch on them, protecting these gunners a little bit, because they are such a valuable unit. We really don't want to be losing them. Bats, in the meantime, you can see, surprisingly, he's shutting that Flamespire Phoenix down in protracted fight, and Spearmen now getting dumpstered, because, of course, as long as these guys do keep their frenzy up, their damage output is nuts. 70 weapon strength, 57 melee defense. These guys are not built to tank that, and we are going to get a nice invocation of the Heck here, which will start stabilizing that leadership a little bit, and bring them back up to frenzy. And once they're back up to frenzy, it's go time. These guys are going to fall apart. You can see their leadership spiking up to 29, 32, and they actually regain frenzy here, and they're going to be able to smush those guys. In the meantime, Count Noctilus here summons some zombies, ties down Tyrion, and promptly just waltzes away, ignoring him, not really caring. In the meantime, my opponent's army is essentially gone. The Bats here shutting down the Illyrian Reavers, because I finally grew a brain and started shutting them down. We're using our Scurvy Dogs to shut down the Cav, pursue them off the field. These guys are getting terror-routed. And with this much pressure, we're really starting to overwhelm my opponent. You can see the Mage of Heavens here being forced off. We are able to use our Scurvy Dogs, who are just fast enough to catch her, to pressure this caster away. And you can see her there in full retreat. Scurvy Dogs, great value unit here, just doing so much work. We do get another bombardment off, but it's not going to do very much. I do believe it actually whiffed there on Tyrion. So Count Noctilus being pressured a little bit, but obviously it's Count Noctilus, so he doesn't care too much. He's able to just kind of waltz away. Bats continuously pressuring this backline. The Flamespire Phoenix got nothing done this game. The handguns here, we try to heal them with Invocation of the Hack. Honestly, a mistake in my opinion, but hindsight's 20/20, you know. The Rotting Leviathan here getting a little stuck in, and of course Tyrion's going to be womping on him, but at this point my opponent's army cannot hold any longer. We do still have 2 very healthy Depth Guard here on the periphery, and my opponent is suddenly shattered off the field. So some major misplays were had this game. I didn't cover the backline. Really, if I had these Scurvy Dogs camp in the backline early on, and or if I kept like the 2 Fell Bats in reserve instead of having all 4 womping on the Flamespire Phoenix, this match would have gone, I think, much more smoothly for me. I ended up losing essentially two Zombie Pirate Gunner mobs, because I didn't at all protect my backline. I used my summons to push the advance, and didn't have anything to protect myself in the back. And really, had I had those 2 bats, I could have easily shut down like 2 units of Illyrian Reavers, gotten like 1 summon off to shut down the 3rd unit of Illyrian Reavers, and been done with it. I would have been good. But I did not, and so I paid for that. But I think that build was really fun. I'm not sure it's the most competitive, and I honestly wouldn't say it necessarily is the most competitive. But it was an incredibly fun build for me to play with. Depth Guard did an amazing job. Just mulched through that front line in a matter of seconds. Got on the White Lions eventually and just tore them all to shreds. They just tore them limb from limb. The handguns didn't do great, but they did actually apply quite a lot of pressure to Tyrion, which is kind of hidden here in their kill counts. Noctos, of course, did some great job against the White Lions. The Fellbats really did a number on the Phoenix. Had I been smarter, I could have honestly just shut down the Phoenix with like 2 bats and then sent the rest of the bunch to chase off the Illyrian Reavers. The Scurvy Dogs did some great work tying down peripheral units and all that sort of stuff. And the Rotting Leviathan was a great distraction card effects. It really tanked Tyrion's attacks and bought me a lot of time that I needed. But it was a fun build. It was very fun to play Vampire Ghost in an aggressive manner, because it's something that's difficult to do. They're not a faction that's particularly mobile or particularly oriented to play in such an aggressive manner. Perhaps, honestly, deck droppers, like bring 2 deck droppers with handguns might have been smarter than the triple handgun mobs. I don't know. That might have been a smarter move in hindsight, but really, it was a fun build, and I enjoyed it. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's the most competitive, but against most builds you're going to see from High Elves, because they're going to be so wide and so cheap, you're going to see a lot of these trash builds essentially from High Elves, where it's just a horde of spearmen backed by a horde of archers. And because you're going to see a lot of those builds, with maybe some heavy cap, and that's why you really need those handguns, that's why you really need Noctilus and a handful of elite units in there like Throwing Leviathan, but because most of those builds are going to be so cheap and trash, you're able to just overwhelm them. The 2 depth guard, despite just being 2 depth guard, you get some summons in there from Count Noctilus, you get the depth guard mulching through the spears, overrunning the backline, and you can actually get some great results. In the meantime, your bats and your scurvy dogs, you have 8 units to interdict the backline, so your opponent's going to have a hard time shutting all that down. He's going to have a hard time defending his Sisters of Avalorn and his archers and all those units, and you can just get so much value, and it can be a lot of fun, I think. So regardless, well played to my opponent, the Wolf here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys had a great holiday. Hope you guys had a great Christmas, and hopefully all sorts of fun was had, and you guys got to enjoy some time with family and friends and all that sort of stuff. So I do hope you guys had a great time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys liked it. If you have any comments, any critique, as usual, don't hesitate to post down below. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. As usual, I thank you all for your support, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.